You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Let's go race.
Come on, man.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go, come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico, it's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and zero sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
The K1 Circuit Semi-Pro League. This is a competitive race series with 2 classes. Junior Series for those who are under the age of 18, and the Senior Series for those who are 18 or older. If you think you have what it takes, come out and prove your skills on League Night. Both schedules are live on the K1 Circuit website. Your Kart Chaser live feed will resume shortly.
mini Swifts out on the racetrack now, led by Aston Wyatt, Tanner Barsh, Kimo Ahmad, and Alex Chandler. Currently your top 4 on the racetrack as well. And again, their session getting closer and closer to conclude here as they continue to work their way through the gaps. Changing once again, the 111 of Kimo Ahmad to the top of the timing charts. But Nate, your first time here at Nola Motorsports Park, a massive racetrack that we have here, 16 corners. I believe it's close to a mile, I think a little bit over at that, with long straightaways. Drafting is going to be one of the huge factors here this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, especially down that long back straightaway from 14 to 15 and then to the final couple of corners. So that's going to make for some interesting finishes indeed. But like you were saying, with these 4 drivers on track right now, it's like we picked up where we left off in Crescent. These guys were the talk of the town there, and they are all bumper to bumper and trying to set down a lap time when they'll get them on the top of the grid for the opening heat as they head down that straightaway we were just talking about.
Yeah, correct. And again, I really don't think our cameras do it justice, but working our way through now, very fast section into the start-finish straight here as they cross the line now. Kimo Ahmad holds on to Alex Chandler, Tanner Barsh, Aston Wyatt. That's your top 4, and that should be the conclusion of this session, I believe. And again, they've been very close in lap times, a 108.512 for Ahmad. And indeed, so we are getting the checkered flag. He was just that little bit quicker. That was on lap number 3. He ran that 68.512 compared to Alex Chandler's 68.645. Barsh had a 68.7, sorry, so 68.8 of Aston Wyatt. And you're going to see a lot of that in qualifying as well. I think as the day goes on, you're going to see groups of 4, groups of 5 maybe getting that train. And it's also important, right, like we've seen, I think, across multiple of our national race series where drivers tend to kind of trip each other over, step on each other's toes, if you will. And again, that's going to be critical here this weekend because they are, just like there's this long straightaway, right, that promotes over to drafting, promotes over to passing. There's a very, very technical sections. To be more specific, talk about turn number 8, turn number 9, 10, 11, 12, right, very tight and twisty corners where we were actually able to drive the track a little bit yesterday, had a little bit of fun on the rental. As well. Great environment here this weekend, right? You have the putt-putt games as well just to the side, which is, it's been a huge turnout, right? Kind of following that trend that we've had all year, 180 plus here this weekend at, what continues to be one of the biggest regionals in the U.S., 189 entries here this weekend across all classes, every single class in the double digits here this weekend. That's huge. That's huge for TSRS, and I know they've been hard at work, right, getting these numbers, keeping these numbers as well healthy throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to be able to sustain that for the entirety of the season, yeah, a lot of series will be able to get to that 200 mark for one round or so, but for TSRS to sustain those entries for pretty much the entirety of the season is really impressive by their crew, and hopefully we get to see that high of entry come the final round later on in the year.
Yeah, we go to the Dallas Kart Complex to end things off, and they announced the layout. It's going to be the north layout there that weekend, so we're excited to be there. And we were also excited when they announced this year that we were going to do the full layout, the full circuit here at Nola. We were obviously here last year for the opening round, and we only got about half of the layout, right? And we were just kind of left thinking, what could be if we use the entire layout, just like we were here at the SCUSA Pro Tour, right, a couple of years ago, which I believe was back in 2022, one of our first times here. We used the entire layout. We're back to that here this year. This is the way this track was meant to run. And again, we're gonna see some great racing action here this weekend. There's so many places to pass as we're working our way through. And again, we want to show you guys as well, right? Very tight, twisty corners, very technical sectors, especially through here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the contrast of just the tight and technical onto the long back straight. That will definitely be one of the opportunities a lot of these drivers will see for passing later on in the day when we get to the heat races into the final couple of corners here, the chicane, where it's going to be pretty tight to go side by side with another competitor. So that being the final complex of corners is going to be very interesting indeed. We're probably going to see some drivers go to the wayside trying to hold positions through there. But of course, just qualifying everyone, finding space right now. All the action will continue throughout the day with heats 1 and 2, and we'll get to see where the passing opportunities really lie on this layout.
And we're going to see we have our micro swifts out on the racetrack now, thanks to Gallery Furniture. And this year in 2025, after round number 1, it's been all about one kid, and that's a 229 of Brody Stoffel on the Kart CRG USA machine. And again, he was flawless when we were out at Amarillo. The same can be said about Crescent. Round 1 was where he finished second to Tyler Blackwood on the Fennec machine. So again, those two drivers have been going back and forth. They are in a close championship battle. Only 80 points separate the two of them. Wyatt White, the driver in third, he's on the Croc Promotion machine, is yet to get a podium on the year, but his consistent results have put him in the championship conversation in third place. Shep Sullivan finds himself fourth, and he's looking to continue a streak of podiums here this weekend. He got one when we were over at Amarillo Kart Complex, looking to get one here this weekend as well in New Orleans. He got one in Crescent as well, must be said, which has been a good run for the 2-1-2. Bodie Byer, another one to look out for. He's fifth in the championship here coming into the weekend. Dustin Strayer, driver who you saw come together out at Crescent as well. So the list goes on, and we have 15 drivers joining us here this weekend in this Micro Swift class, Nate.
Yeah, and like we've been saying, it's a good turnout for these Micro Swifts, especially once we're getting into like the school year and some entries fall off. Good to see these kids still out at the track and doing laps here at Nola Motorsports Park. Like you said, though, Brody Stoffel, a driver who it's pretty much been all about this season, leading points, leading the timesheets right now over Brody Bear, almost 4.5 tenths in this Micro Swift division. That's going to be a difficult gap for the rest of the field to catch up with Caleb, but if I remember back to Crescent, Brody did have quite the jump on the field in qualifying, but as the weekend went on, gap got smaller and smaller up front.
And again, you see Brody in a good position. Actually, that's Rodolfo Garza there. Brody Brown, another driver that we've seen work his way into the top 10 across the national series, and this is really one of the weekends when you get back to the grassroots side of things, right, for him to be able to break out. So we're going to keep an eye on the 217 as well as he's working his way through. And again, these drivers starting to put in some lap times, like we said, right? Lap 2 already in the books. Stoffel was able to improve, ran a 69.779 on his second lap. Bodie Byer going to join him up there, the kid out of Waco, Texas. Shep Sullivan going to get himself up to third with a 70.263. So again, still looking for about a second for Shep Sullivan here. Tyler Blackwood only fourth. And you have to go down a little bit ways to find Brody Brown. He's in eighth. Rodolfo Garza finds himself in 10. And there should be 15 drivers joining us here in this one. Beckley Anderson, Sebastian Kim, Max Santana, Caden Tudor, as well as Christopher Arms, our 15 drivers that are going to be taking part in this race with us here this weekend. And you see the difference, right? For Stoffel, no draft. For Garza, that's Byer and Shep Sullivan. For them, that should be beneficial, right, to work their way through. Again, this is a very long track, so with only 5 minutes in qualifying, realistically, you're getting 3 to 4 laps here.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure's on for these drivers to lay down a fast lap time early on. Of course, you're going to have to deal with some cold tires at the start of that, and with how technical the start of this track is, you're definitely fighting that and making sure you're staying online, not getting too much buildup on the tires to keep those clean for your qualifying laps. Like you said, just a really short session for these guys, so have to make it all count in the short time you have. And as it stands, Stoffel continues to do that, almost half a second clear of Bayer.
Yeah, 69.9 on his third lap, 69.7 on his second lap, which has been the best for some drivers. If they didn't make it across the finish line, that will be it for them. And we are having 3 that aren't showing times. You can see there on the left-hand side pylon, Caden Tudor, Christopher Arms, and Max Santana, the 3 that aren't showing times here. So it's down to Sebastian Kim, Beckley Anderson, Rodolfo Garza that are on the edge of the top 10, if you will. And we follow along for the last lap. Byer's been right behind Shep Sullivan. They find themselves second and third on the pylon. Sullivan third, Byer in second. As we look now, Stoffel going to cross. Looks like there was no improvement last time from him. A 69.7 going to be the best that he can go. And Bodie Byer, 4 tenths the gap he was looking at. He was able to set a personal best, though. They're close to a personal best, I should say, a 70.442. Down to Shep Sullivan. That's to the top 3 to Tyler Blackwood, and then to the 246 of Aiden, finding himself rounding up the top 5. That's it for the first 2. That's it for the cadets as well. to start off the morning. This track, again, we talked a little bit about it, right, Nate? You've been to New Orleans, Louisiana, you've driven through, but now being here this weekend, right, the kart track, there's cars out there as well, and I'm sure there's going to be more throughout the weekend, but being here, being a part of this environment for your second time of the year, what's it like? What have you gotten out of Nola Motorsports Park here this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, just from a driving perspective, obviously, like you said, we had a little bit of a teaser of what the track would be like when we did Reynolds yesterday. It's a bit bumpy, especially for these drivers that have lighter karts that are going quicker. It's going to be difficult for those guys. It's going to amplify those bumps even more. It's going to make, especially the main events that are so long, even more taxing on the body. But to add to that, too, a lot of curb usage around here, too, so it's a very physically demanding track. You're going to have to be inch perfect around here to get lap time out of it, so it's going to be drivers that really focus on the details, you have to think, that will be coming out on top.
Oh, correct. And one of the other details as well that I noticed yesterday, me and you didn't find ourselves going through the grass. One of our very own did, though, right? Hunter Bolton that was out there in the session, put himself off the track, went through the grass, and again, freshly cut out here, right? Freshly cut grass, but it must be said, still very thick. So if you do find yourself off there in one of these competition karts and the normal ones, it is going to be hard to, I think, push one out to get restarted, to get going through that grass. And as well, right, freshly cut, there's still kind of just grass laying around, so it would be a lot kicked onto the racetrack, like we saw yesterday, right? But to that benefit, there is a lot of runoffs that you can use to be specific. You know, you can open up the corners a little bit wider here and there. So that's also one of the coolest things, which I think was really beneficial about, rather than having fun yesterday like we were, it was very beneficial to us to see a little bit of a sneak peek, if you will, what the drivers are going to see. And like you said, it was very bumpy. I've heard a lot of that this weekend, but it is also very, very fast. And I think we saw that yesterday, Nate. I think these drivers are going to feel it, especially in the youngest class here of the weekend, the 206 Kid Kart class presented by GR2 Motorsports. And again, they've been very competitive. I believe we've had about a different race winner every single time that these young drivers have hit the racetrack. And I'll bring you guys the official championship points for our 206 Kid Karts. So yeah, indeed. You go back to the start of the year, and it was Wyland Galliano who won when we were out at Speed Sports Racing Park. And then you go to round number 2 at Amarillo Kart Complex, Maverick Reddick in the 75, able to get the second win of the year. And then you go to round number 3, Vettel Baker in the 22, gets the win. So 3 different race winners across the 206 Kid Kart class at throughout the start of the year. We're at round number 4, and you can only expect the same out of these young drivers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is going to be one of the better tests for these Kid Kart drivers. Yes, they have a really high gear ratio that makes them top out on those junior 206s very early. That being said, though, with how technical this track is, you have to think it's going to promote a bit more racing than like we saw at Dressing, even for the 206 seniors. That entire track is pretty much flat out for them. So once Kid Kart got to the front of that pack racing last time out, it was pretty much game over, but now a lot more of a technical layout, a lot more of a challenge for these young drivers. We could be seeing some of the best races probably in speed sports this year.
And it must be said, keeping the focus for 16 corners for a good amount of time where your laps are over a minute, I should say. They are very long laps, right, for these young drivers. Keep them focused, that's critical, especially at such a young age, right? We talked about the age, the differences for some of these drivers, 6, 7 years old for these young drivers, and I believe Mav Reddick about to turn 6. For Vettel Baker, I believe he's 7, 8, around there. Very, very young drivers right here this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, being in a draft for these guys is more than just getting that time. It's having, like, something to chase out there, right? And that's helping them focus, too. You see a lot in Kid Kart racing where the leader, when they get off to a good start, about 4 or 5 laps later, they start to get reeled in a bit more. So just having that rabbit to chase for these guys will be huge, like you see with Baker leading this pack of CRGs, a huge CRG contingent, as always, here in the Kid Kart class.
Yeah, correct. There are some different names here as well. Wyland Galliano and OTK, as well as one of the high 5 drivers. I mean, looking at the official entries and where these drivers are joining us from, 13 Kid Karts total. The good thing about being in Louisiana, we do have some of those local drivers joining us here. Ethan Wargo, number 5, one of those really his dad, all the development they've done. They're under the driver line 10. Derek Wargo, the driver in the junior ranks. Great talking to his dad. They're having a whole grill out here later on today with sponsors and friends. From the very state of Louisiana. Sawyer Sutton is here this weekend with GRC Motorsports out of Waco, Texas. Xander Lorang out of Collinsville, Oklahoma. So people coming from all over, right? Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, everything deep in the south here. Lafayette, Louisiana for Sullivan Bowden. He's with Reed Motorsports. Vettel Baker out of Fort Worth, Texas. Wyland Galliano as well out of Houston, Texas. Booker Anderson out of McGregor, Texas, close to Waco. Liam Lofton out of Lockney, Texas. Mav Reddick out of Crosby. JJ DeShong out of Plano, Texas. Beckett Boudreaux out of Brassard, Louisiana. Grayson Hollis out of Beaumont. And Anderson Maxwell out of China Spring, Texas. So 13 drivers from all around the state of Texas, from Louisiana, from the South, Oklahoma, whatever you want to call it, joining us here this weekend. And again, good to have these young drivers join us, right? This is the next generation. We always like to say it, right? These drivers are going to be the ones racing up at the front in the senior classes in a blink of an eye, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you've been calling this series for a lot longer than I have. You've seen some of these drivers go on to be national, regional level race winners. So it's always cool to see a glimpse of them while they're in this stage of their career as well. But clock's starting to tick down for these kid karts. One more thing to note with the kind of new faces we're seeing this weekend. Yeah, we're in Louisiana, not Texas. You're going to see some locals around here. The Reed Motorsport camp looked a little bigger, had another tent up compared to what they usually do. So obviously with them being based here in Louisiana, it's good to see one of the CRG dealers having an uptick on their entries.
Correct, and that's been huge for a lot of teams, right? I'll throw in Drive Your Line stat as well. Huge comp car contingency here as well for the Drive Your Line team based out of here, out of this track. You know, Nola Motorsports Park, the same, you know, we talked about Reed Motorsports, Cameron Reed, her dad Josh Reed, the work they've done to bring this many people out here this weekend has been huge, right? A lot of, you see Louisiana pop up a lot more this weekend than we have, and we will see privateers join us here this weekend, right? Which has been the coolest thing of it all. Father-son duos that we're going to get into later. You guys are going to hear from all the stories out of TSRS here this weekend when we do go out of the state of Texas, if you will. But that being said, we focus in on qualifying as times start to roll in as well. Maverick Reddick tops the timing charts by 0.3 of a second. He ran a 1 minute 30.552, so a 90.5. That's compared to Vettel Baker's 90.8. And again, these drivers with you know, the restrictors and all in these 206 Kid Kart engines, they only have about 3 laps in this qualifying session. Only 5 minutes, only about 3 laps to get it done here. So I believe everybody's going to come around for one more, and that's going to be it. As Vettel Baker finds a response here that time around, able to set a 130.122, going that little bit quicker than Mav Reddick by a 10th. So lap times very, very close here, Nate. Grayson Hollis able to put himself up to 3rd. That's a 91.648. You see the gaps. Reddick, Baker, the 2 drivers fighting for the championship here in Kid Kart. Booker Anderson putting himself 4th with a 92.0. To Liam Lofton, 92.2. That's your top 5 in the 206 Kid Kart Qualifying. That's all thanks to GR2 Motorsports. JJ DeShong, to Beckett Boudreaux, Sullivan Bowden, Anderson Maxwell, Wyland Galliano down in 10th, Sawyer Sutton to Xander Lorang. Deacon Wargo, it looks like the number 5 wasn't able to set in a lap here in the qualifying session. But again, Baker, Reddick coming into the weekend only separated by 5 points. And again, that's without drops. We'll do that at the end of the year where we're going to be stuck with points and doing the whole math, if you will. But 5 points, the only thing that separates Maverick Reddick and, or sorry, that's Maverick Reddick and Wyland Galliano, who's 2nd. Galliano finds himself down in 10. So that was very close lap times. Vettel Baker actually 18. So you see how close it is in between the top 5. They're all within 100 points of each other here, Nate.
Yeah, it should be close indeed, especially for these Kid Kart drivers that are so young and so early in their career. For the championship battle to be that close is a testament to those drivers, and of course TSRS as a series for developing them as well. So they'll head off track into scales for post-race inspection. We'll see them back out on track for the first heat. Again, very close Kid Kart categories. We'll have K100 Junior up next.
cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
Cadet Junior out onto the racetrack now. And we're following along for their qualifying session here. And a huge contingent for these drivers. I believe 21 join us here for the Cadet Junior class. That, again, doesn't matter where you go, what track you go to, what series you go to, the Cadet Junior class is always going to be one of the ones to watch. So we follow along Jackson Baldus, Nathan Bolsath, the most recent race winner, Gage Bailey, for Trackside Karting Services. He sits third in line right now. They find themselves top of the timing chart. One driver not populating, I believe that could be Baldus. That is to the top of the timing pylon as we're going to change around. Royce Vega, we saw him run out of Crescent as well. The same for Nico Bezo, who's here with us. Marco Romero joining us. He's back in the seat here this weekend after quite some time out of it. The 817 here with us this weekend. So a good number of drivers with us. And indeed, so Jackson Baldus now finds himself to the top as times are going to continue changing. This class is always going to be one of the most competitive ones to keep an eye on here, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. Cadet Junior, no matter where you go, no matter what series it is always one to watch, especially here at TSRS. We've seen more than a few bangers throughout 2025 in the K100 Junior class. I'm guessing we're going to see some more today, like you were saying, with this technical layout. The second they get a little bit racy through there, it's going to bring the pack all the way back up to the front. So we'll just have to wait and see if we'll be leading that train to the green in a few minutes' time. At the moment, Vega leading there. You see Tyrone Kemper Jr., number 1 SCR machine, leading the way down the front straight. It's going to be close. It's a home track for Kemper, I believe. So we'll have to see if he can get that done in his backyard. And it looks like throughout yesterday, I believe he was one of the quicker ones. So we'll have to wait to see where he ends up.
I mean, there's a number 1 plate on Tyrone Kemper Jr.'s kart for a reason, right? He is the reigning Texas Sprint Racing Series champion in the junior classes. And you got to look back to where we were in 2024 here at this race. He was super competitive, lights out all weekend long for Tyrone Kemper Jr., and it's going to be more of the same here this weekend. But again, more drivers have been, competing, right? You have a new driver, a rookie driver like Royce Vega, who's been flawless in the national scene. And as well, he's going to be good when he comes back to a series where he developed at it. And again, they have those big team logos, but that's not the situation here this weekend, right? Tyrone Kemper Jr. putting with his dad as well. Royce Vega, I believe, with the Iron Rock Motorsports team. And again, everybody's super close here. Jackson Baldus getting himself up to third on the High Five Performance machine. Nico Orbezo to Gage Bailey is up 5, and you go to David Ibarra, Nathan Golseth, Marco Romero. Very, very competitive class here this weekend in Cadet Junior. As Vega 64.6 is the time to beat at the moment. Then you go back to 64.7 to Kemper Jr. Golseth able to get himself into the top 3 as time continues to run out.
Yeah, most of these guys are going to be seen at the top of the pylon right now. You'll see fighting for race wins on the national level too. Just speaks to the level that this Cadet Junior field is at the moment as time starts to wind down for the Cadet Juniors. Again, about a 10th and a half separating Royce Vega and Tyrone Kemper Jr. So it's still anyone's game between those two, and who's to say Nate Golseth, Ibarra, Romero didn't have a mistake or two or have those tires set up perfectly for this final flying lap as times begin to shuffle again here, Caleb.
Yeah, Golset didn't improve. Vega looking to go across the line now. Nobody was able to go quicker, I think, than the 833. Derek Wargo, hometown kid, up to third, starting on the inside row for the heat races. And again, as time has officially ran out, Nico Orbezo, it looked like, was only able to get himself up to 8th. Was one of the drivers we saw contend for the race win last time out at Crescent. But Royce Vega, when it's all said and done, on the pole position here in K8 Junior, presented by P1 Engines. And there's a look at your unofficial results at the end of qualifying. Royce Vega on the pole position, and Tyrone Kemper Jr., they're going to share row number 1. Derek Wargo and Nathan Golseth on row number 2 with Gage Bailey and David Ibarra. Marco Romero on his return to the seat finds himself 7th with Nico Orbezo alongside him. Jackson Baldus and Mason Berry round up your top 10 at the end of qualifying here in K8 100 Junior. That's a couple of classes done there, Nate. And again, with a handful more to go before we hit the lunch break at 11 a.m. local time. Coming up next, 206 Senior Group 1. And I believe they're going to be split up into, sorry, that's, yeah, correct. 206 Senior split in 2 groups. 206 Cadet going to find themselves right after them. KA Masters, 206 Junior, and then KA Senior. Last 5 classes set to qualify here today. And again, we've already seen a little bit, Nate, from what we have seen. What's caught your attention the most of you out of this qualifying?
I mean, it's still close for how technical the track is. A lot of these drivers have risen to that challenge and are staying pretty close to each other. Obviously, with K100 Junior, a little bit more spread out than what we're used to with these guys, but probably a different layout to a couple of these drivers have been used to, and we'll obviously see that shrink as the weekend goes on, even at somewhere like Crescent, as the track is easy as that is comparatively to other tracks on the schedule. It was a bit open at the start of it, but closed down towards the main events on Sunday. As first group of 206 Senior see on track and ready to go to hit for their qualifying session, and they'll get a chance to get themselves as high up the grid as they try. Caleb here for heat number 1 coming our way later on in the day, and you already see some drivers starting to form in some draft packs. We'll see what works for them. If tandem drafting with 2 drivers will be the way to go, or if other drivers will be able to make that 3 or 4 pack work, as you already see the games being played of not wanting to be the first driver to lead these packs. You see this in higher series in Formula 1 at places like Monza or Spa. You don't want to be the one cut in the air for these guys, but unfortunately someone's got to do it. And it looks like they're all figuring it out as they head down the back straight.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the 604 Carter Kilgo here as well. And again, this is, we talk about draft, right? We talk a little bit about the 2-cycle classes, but even more so important in the 4-cycle class, right? This is 4-cycle racing. You're going to see a lot of this. And as well, when you look at the championship, very, very close here. Reagan Seville comes into the weekend leading by 21 points over Kelvin Zing, who I believe isn't here this weekend, so this will be his drop. Jackson Young finds himself 3rd. Josie Chambers, Cameron Reed, local gal here to New Orleans, finds herself 5th. To Jacob Oliver, Christopher McKeithen, your most recent race winner in TSRS racing action in 206 Senior, is 7th in the championship. To Samuel Young, Bryce Frank, the reigning champ, and Carter Kilgo, who currently sits 10th. But this weekend, 30 drivers total with us are going to be taking the green flag here this weekend. And again, one of the 2 marquee classes that we have here, one of the 2 seniors senior classes that we do have. So we're going around now, led by Carter Kilgo, Bryce Frank, Josie Chambers just in tow. As we look at it here, and again, a little bit of separation throughout those technical sectors, if you will, and then when you get on that front stretch, that gap that was built closes up right on down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see if drivers who struggle throughout those technical sections are able to make it all back up on the straightaways here, especially down that long back straightaway. You have a ton of time to draft up to the cart in front of you and will be able to kind of mask a few mistakes you make inside those technical parts of the racetrack, but still, those drivers that are able to piece an entire lap together are more than likely able to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, and everyone's just got to be on the same page, especially in these 206 races, of who's leading, who's pushing, who's better in each position, and we'll see more of that once we get to heats. As you know, qualifying, don't really have to worry about that as much. It's just set as fast of a time as you possibly can, as they'll be heading back onto that back straight in a few moments here. Still working on timing. Currently, Carter Kilgo still leading the way over Bryce Frank. Those two leading the way on track and on the timesheets there, Caleb. We'll have to see if anyone can challenge him.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it here as they work their way onto the back stretch. We'll get those times as well. Momentarily, but these two have found themselves close to the top with Josie Chambers, Chuck Jensen. Again, one of the names to keep an eye out for, the 689. Cole Killian as well, Paul Braden. Now to the top of the chart with Gabriel McLeod, Bryce Frank, Josie Chambers, Carter Kilgo. That's your top 5 provisionally with just about 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Rafael Kraus finds himself 6th, Cole Killian, Chuck Jensen, Vinny Carollo, Jensen Harrell, the top 10. And it looks like, again, they were split in 2, so it should be about 15 drivers out on the track at the moment here, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple different names at the top of the timesheets, like you were saying, than what we're accustomed to, especially last time out at Crescent. A lot of those drivers not really making too big of a splash, but hopefully this time around with some more Louisiana natives, we have some new faces up front racing for the win. Back onto the back straight for most of these drivers. The first 15 of this large 30 kart contingent for 206 senior. You can see a couple of the CRGs going to the inside, maybe trying to reshuffle the order, get some clean there, but they'll fall back in line for what should be the final few moments of qualifying.
Yeah, so there it looks like one of those was a 671, a Cole Killian, as well as it looked like the 630 was in there. Again, we spoke this morning with Vinny Carollo in the 680, local to here in New Orleans. Paul Braden, it looks like the driver right behind Cole Killian there. So they're working their way through now. Rafael Kraus looking like he swapped over to a TV kart here this weekend after spending some time. You see it on suit, right? VLR. But he's on a TV kart here this weekend. So a lot of nuances, right? A lot of things to get used to on our side here this weekend, Nate. But 4 minutes to go. This should be the last lap for these drivers. They won't make it in time. And as it stands, it's Josie Chambers with the fastest lap. That's a 71.944 for Josie Chambers. Paul Braden, a 72.0. So about a 10. That's what Paul Braden's looking for. And again, it's all going to come down to this. Kilgo and Frank haven't really made too much of an impression on that gap that Chambers was able to set. They come across last time, and as I say that, they proved me wrong. Carter Kilgo, Bryce Frank to the top of the timing charts, and I don't think they made it across in time. But again, I could also be wrong about that. But those two AR Academy MGM machines find themselves at the top with a couple of 71.8s for Kilgo, for Frank, and we saw how well they were working together in those opening laps here as well.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see Kilgo and Frank struggling in those opening couple of laps. Say struggle, they were about 2.5 tenths off or so, but they were in the same pack that Chambers was, and Chambers was obviously able to set that lap time of with about a lap or 2 to go in the session. So obviously Kilgo and Frank found something on that final run. Obviously not pole yet. Still have another 15 drivers to go. The likes of Reagan Seville, Roussel, Cameron Reed, are going to be ones to look out for in this next session. So we'll have to see if Kilgo and Frank get lucky and able to hold that front row going into Heat 1.
Yeah, that's huge for Carter Kilgo, for Bryce Frank. You got to think about track evolution as well. They were split up randomly. I believe evens and odds was what they were split into throughout the day, or I don't know what way, but it's 15, right, in each one of the sessions. So that being said, we find, again, the second half ready to go out. That holds the likes of Grand National Champion Christopher McKeithen, out of the box race winner, and Cameron Reed, Sawyer Roussel, championship points leader, Reagan Seville as well. So, again, a good number of names that are going to find themselves in that second group, looking to, again, spoil the party, if you will, for Carter Kilgo. And we'll keep an eye on him as this session continues to run forward. And again, a 71.8, the time to beat as that second half now works their way onto the racetrack. And this is important, right, as well. When they work their way out, it's going to be competitive, right, on who's going to be up front, who wants to lead. So boys and girls got to be a little careful, right, with how much they want to race early on in the session. And you talk about, you know, local to Nola, to Louisiana, Sawyer Roussel, one of those drivers that we don't see in 206 Senior all too often nowadays. Well, we've seen him race the likes of Pro X30, the likes of KA Senior as well throughout the national scene. But when you come to Nola, right, how can you not run one of the most competitive classes on the weekend, being 206 Senior, and this weekend with GWR, he's doing just that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the standout races for me watching at home last year was this 206 Senior class, with just how jam-packed it was out in front. So a lot of those drivers probably seen the action that was in this class last year and signing up and wanting a bit to do with that as you see them onto the back straight for the first time. Everyone trying to find their drafting partner, where they want to be on track, of course, with how long these laps are and with how technical this track is. You don't want to waste too much time trying to figure out where you should be on track and who to work with. And a lot of these drivers experienced in the senior category, experienced with 206 racing, and doing just that in the short amount of time they have.
Yeah, well, it looks like they've pretty much figured it out, right? Everybody kind of in their own space, right? You don't see too much passing now. Because, again, we talked about only 5 minutes with a very long lap time being about 70 seconds to go out there. So it does add up when it's all said and done. So finding that space early is imperative here at Nola for sure. And, again, we'll wait for the first lap. This is the first hot lap for Sawyer Roussel, for Cameron Reed as they work their way through. And it looked like Roussel just dropped the tire there as they were going through what looked like the exit of turn number 8 in turn number 9 there for Sawyer Roussel. That being said, they're working their way through now as they head on to the back stretch. So this is underway with their first lap, if you will. So this is the first lap. So the other one was the out lap, and again, getting all mixed up here with how long the laps are, if you will. But we'll keep an eye. Braden Domain right in the middle of this group as well. Look at Jackson Young this weekend debuting with PPK. As now the times start to run in. Cameron Reed getting herself up to 4th, to Roussel in 5th. And you have a little bit of a change. Jacob Oliver leads the second group with McKeithen, Domain, and Jackson Young. And then further up, right, you have those two working on their own, finding their own space, their own space on the track to work together. As now McKeithen going to make a move there, looking to mix things up, right, see if they can go faster, switching things around. And gets a little hairy there, right, for Jacob Oliver as he's getting passed by Braden Domain.
Yeah, not what you want to be doing in a qualifying session, because that's the lap done for this time. It's not going to be a representative time for pretty much any of those drivers in this pack. So they got to regroup and figure out how they want to go forward from here. We'll say a lot of star power in that pack with Reagan Seville, Christopher McKeithen not too far in front as well. Obviously, those are a couple of drivers that just next week when we go to Newcastle Motorsports Park for the CKNA Grand Nationals, they'll be drivers we'll be looking out for to get wins in the likes of Senior Light and Senior Medium. But in the here and now, still more racing in a qualifying session, guys. I know you want to get some clear air, but this is not what you want to be doing. That's contact there on the straightaway, Caleb.
Yeah, there you go. Braden Domain, Reagan Seville. Again, looks like they just couldn't agree, right, on who was going to do what, who was going to be where, and you'll see more of that as well throughout this session as now they're making moves. But again, yeah, that's just a little too close there, especially on the front stretch. That being said, though, Kilgo Frank, hold on. Josie Chambers 3rd. Cameron Reed to Roussel, that's 4th and 5th. as Samuel Young, a couple of more drivers as well find themselves on that stretch. Shelby Ramirez in that mix as well as they're working their way through, and we keep an eye, right, on the top 10. Seville doesn't find himself in it. Braden Domain only 17. Jacob Oliver only 18. Christopher McKeithen, one of the ones that I'm looking for. He's only up to 8th. So again, this second group hasn't made as much of an impression as maybe I thought it would on that first group. But again, we still have some time left to find that time right out there on the track. So we'll look for it here. But again, Kilgo's lap time was pretty good to say the least here, right? Reed ran 71.9. We are getting information. There is a penalty headed the way of Braden Domain in the 6:58. But a change at the top of the timing charts. Christopher McKeithen in the 6:19 to the top. Jackson Young to second. Roussel, Cameron Reed. It's all changed around, right? It's all flipped on its head. Those drivers we were looking for, they found that pace there later on. And again, these two have been working very well together here. Reed, Roussel 3rd and 4th. McKeithen Young looking to lock out that front row for PPK and for Coyote.
Yeah, just as you were saying that the second group hadn't been making any inroads. Of course, they had to go and prove us wrong on that one.
Let me correct myself. Not yet. They weren't making any inroads yet. And again, they made it now.
And of course now, proving us wrong in the booth. McKeithen, a driver who I'm not sure if he's been to Nola Motorsports Park. You see him there on screen, a Grand Nats winner, and going for another one in a couple days' time in Newcastle, trying to close the gap up to Cameron Reed and Sawyer Roussel, both on track and on the timesheets. Onto the front straightaway here, Caleb. Final couple of corners to get the checkered flag and to see Christopher McKeithen get toppled. Young goes to the top of the timesheets for the time being, but still more drivers.
There you go, Jackson Young to the top of the timing charts in the 6:70. He was pushing McKeithen for most of that session, got himself just that little bit quicker, 56 thousandths of a second in between the top two. Sawyer Roussel 3rd, Reed to Braden Domain, who unfortunately that won't stick for him with a penalty, headed the way of the 6:58. Carter Kilgo, Bryce Frank, Oliver, Chambers, Dolian round up your top 10. You're watching round number 4 of the Texas Sprint Racing Series live on Kart Chaser. We'll be right back with more.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
Florida Kart Racers, you asked for it and we're going to bring it. Introducing Florida Karting Championship, FLKC, a brand new racing series coming to Florida in 2026.
issues for one driver as we get started with our 206 Cadet qualifying session presented by Speed Concepts Racing. That 210 looked to be Peter, Ashton Peter, that is, in the 210 as we get going here in 206 Cadet. Again, most series you have 206 Sportsman, 206 Cadet. Here they're all thrown into one, if you will, for those of you guys watching on from home. And again, a pretty big number, 21 drivers total here in this 206 Cadet class, one of the biggest fields in the nation, period, if you will. They're joining us here. They're all led by Mace Lasek in the, that's Clayton Styles in the 237. New lids for a good number of these drivers, right? Keep us on our toes, Nate, if you will. We'll bring you guys the driver profiles on this 206 Cadet class here as well. Mace Lasek joining us from Magnolia, Texas. Ruben Greer at Vestavia Hills, Alabama. Yomi Vargas out of Floresville, Texas. Benjamin Osborne out of Frisco. Ashton Peter, Villa Platte, Louisiana. Here, Privateer No Team here this weekend. Silas Root out of Mississippi. Nicholas McCarthy out of Louisiana. The same for Ocean Ocala out of Baton Rouge. Drew Blem out of the state of Texas with Aiken Bowden out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Sebastian Kim out of Fort Worth. Aston White out of Huntsville, Texas. Dustin Schrader out of Gordon, Texas. Wyatt White. Seguin. We have Katie. Oklahoma as well, Missouri. The list goes. This is, I believe, one of the most diverse, fields that we do have here this weekend, right? Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and that list goes. Alabama even in this field as well with us here this weekend for the 202 Ruben Greer. So very, very, diverse field, if you will, for this 206 Cadet class. Joining us from all around the country, which is great to see, right? Usually, country, if I mean the South, the South region, if you will, joining us here this weekend. But that being said, for 21 drivers total joining us here this weekend, that's great to see this field go along. But as we look in, focus on this qualifying session, Nate, Clayton Styles tops the timing charts here, a 112.607 over Stoffel, Blem, Adrian Vargas, and Yomi Vargas. Round up your top 5.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of the mechanics on grid or moms or dads talking to their kids beforehand were pointing towards the 206 senior session and saying, probably don't do that. Try and get us some clean air. And obviously, we're seeing a bit of a cleaner session this time around for our 206 Cadet drivers. A lot of battle packs of 3 at the moment forming around track with a little bit of gap in between them. So obviously that working out for at least these front 2 packs. And of course, Styles and Stoffel, that's going to be a dangerous duo to try and break up. But Blem in there as well. Top 3 on track, top 3 on the timesheets.
Yeah, this is good. These 3 haven't even passed each other in this qualifying session. I think it shows their pace, right? Out there on the track. Styles with Iron Rock Motorsports. Stoffel with Kurt CRG USA, and Blem Privateer, his dad on the wrenches for him here this weekend. As well, I believe his sister Eva might be here with us as well. We see her in the 206 junior class. We've seen her throughout the year. That being said, a couple of more changes. Yomi Vargas up to 5th. Adrian Vargas on his first race back with us here this weekend finds himself in 6th. To Ruben Greer, to Stoffel, Styles, Blem. Everybody kind of shuffling for position. Aston Wyatt, the 221, up to 4th. But Blem able to hold on with a 72.135. That's only 20 thousandths of a second in between himself and Clayton Styles. Stoffel right there as well, right? Those top 3 showing some great paces. They're going to change position here. Stoffel going to lead them away now. And Blem had been the quickest driver, right? Being in that third, being 3rd in line was beneficial for Blem, and now we're going to see what Styles can get out of it here, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. And, being in that 3rd spot, obviously you have the help of 2 karts and those 2 cutting through the air, but you can also drop back a little bit and time it to the point where you can gain some time. And the kart in front is 1 kart, the 299 CRG goes around. Obviously not how you want to roll off with your qualifying session. Some freshly cut grass on the tires there, so that's not going to help them out at all. For the drivers that continue on track, though, everyone's chasing Blem, Styles, and Stoffel. That group of 3 at the front of the pack, separated by 0.2 of a second or just under. Bit of a tall task for the rest of these drivers is 0.3, 0.4, 0.8. The next couple drivers behind that top 3 at the moment.
Yeah, and here we take a look at Aston Wyatt working his way around there with the 202 Ruben Greer. Again, they haven't done all too much to make headway into the top 4. Wyatt looking for 0.4 on Blem, and again, this is we're getting close to the end here, as Blem was able to put in a 1:12.1 that last time around. They just crossed Clayton Styles, Brody Stoffel. That's your top 3. Stoffel with a 1:12.295. Styles with a 72.282. And Drew Blem a 72.1. So just a margin of 10 says there's Mikey Todd in the 299. I believe that might have been one of the drivers that we saw in the grass earlier. And this is it. So this is the final lap here for these drivers, or it was the final lap, if you will, for those drivers. Aston Wyatt only 5th fastest. Ruben Greer to 4th. Blem, Styles, Stoffel, your top 3 in 2:06 Cadet. So Drew Blem showing how it's done, right? Being in the draft for a good amount of that session, puts himself starting on the inside and on the pole position for all 3 heat races. Later on in the weekend, if you will, we have 2 after lunch break here today, and again we have 1 tomorrow, and then we head into main event racing action. That being said, our KA Masters getting set to go out as they're already ready to get going. As you see there, just took our results away. But 16 drivers getting set to take the green flag here in qualifying in 206 Masters, with Kyle Yuchinski, Mr. TB Kart himself, Mr. Amarillo Kart Complex on his return to the seat here this weekend. Brent Harper as well in the 413 Kart Republic leading them out. And a return to the seat as well for the 415 of Morgan LeBaron, the mustache man, who must be said doesn't have a mustache like he used to. Decided to shave that thing off a while ago. Makes his return to the seat here this weekend in the 415 for High Five Racing Texas, on an operation that, again, he started this year as well, and gaining a Masters driver like Daniel Howie to join him, right, try and grow that operation as well. So those two going to be at the front for High Five Performance, as well as Pierce Baldus, who, again, the LSR Motorsports driver, getting ready to take the green flag here in this one. The reigning TSRS champion in the KA100 Masters division. You got to think of the drivers who have been here before, right? You got to think about the likes of Miguel Mir, who comes into the weekend leading the championship, where he returned to victory lane over at Amarillo Kart Complex, has finished on the podium every single race this year, which is why we see him at the top of the championship standings. He was able to finish 3rd out in Crescent. We'll see what Miguel Mir can do here in this qualifying session. So that being said, it's Mir over Pierce Baldus, 2 of the drivers that we saw fight for the championship in 2024. Brent Harper, Daniel Howie, Shane Burkett. That's top 5 in the championship as we get ready to get going here in this one. 16 drivers total joining us in this qualifying session. We'll wait for the times to come in here, Nate.
Yeah, Miguel Mir on screen there was one of the drivers who was competing for a race win last weekend at the Stars Championship Series at Trackhouse Motorplex. Ultimately came up short, just didn't have the pace of the front runners, but comes back to a series where he's found success before. He has a bit more confidence as that CS55 machine with Mir behind the wheel, and don't be surprised if first time they come around the timing and scoring loop that you see him go to the top of the timesheets, even though he doesn't have really any drafting partner. He does have a couple of karts in front of him that he will be getting a bit of a slipstream effect from. Not one that's too strong, but still one that you can capitalize off of, especially as they'll be making their way onto the long back straight as they make their way through one of the more tight and technical sections of the track here, and more drivers battling further up. That's only going to help Miguel Mir bring that slipstream closer to him. Another driver dropping a tire there, Caleb.
Janae Din finding himself off the track, as well as it looked like Kyle Yuchinski dropped the tire there going on the backstretch. So again, that run out of turn 14, showing to be, again, quite easy to put a tire off the track, find yourself sideways, right, headed onto the backstretch, and that's pretty much going to ruin your whole momentum and the lap, even putting a tire off there on the exit of 14.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a difficult track to get used to as well because some corners you do have those massive runoffs, the huge red painted concrete. Others have a very small exit curb to save you, so you do have to be very aware of where the curbing is around here, and obviously those drivers will be well accustomed to it, having all day to practice yesterday and now warm up and qualifying session today, not to mention the amount of local knowledge most of these drivers possess of this place. But of course, it's easy to make those small mistakes. Another driver going slow there, Caleb, for 76. Pierce Baldus just dropping back, might be comfortable with his time. Could be a mechanical issue. Not too sure about that one, but
looks like
we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on. He's actually at the top of the timing chart, so this could be a reset lap for Pierce, if you will, this time around. So again, he was at the top there for a second, but that's all changing. Shane Burkett now finds himself putting in a good lap. I think that only found himself second. Morgan LeBaron, Miguel Mir, Brent Harper are in your top 5. You got to go a little bit ways down to find Kyle Uchinsky, who's down in 9th. Randy Rogers just right behind him. Randy finds himself in 8th. So again, these times are varying here as Baldus now looks like he's going to push this time around. And this, I think, might be the last lap for some of these drivers. He was able to go that little bit better, which was a 66.4 for Baldus. Mir was able to go a 66.45. Sorry, that was Burkett. And then LeBaron. So again, the top 3, top 5, if you will, all very close. And I think still anybody can find a lap time here late in this one. As we continue to follow Pierce Baldus, we'll see if he can improve on his final time around here, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. Could have just been a cool-down lap for Baldus to try and set one more flyer. He's going to need it because Burkett goes to the top, looking at what Pierce Baldus can do. No improvement, still second on the timesheets for the time being. So obviously he's going to need a bit more there, but Shane Burkett by almost 3.5 tenths, 3.25 tenths of a second in front of Pierce Baldus. A good time to potentially get him on top of the timesheets. We'll have to wait and see if anyone else has a response from Caleb.
Yeah, there's Brent Harper. Shane Burkett's on the MPG Academy liveried Kart Republic in the 442, and he's a little bit ways up the road from this group. And again, I believe local to Nola for Shane Burkett as well, and he's right there working in lockstep with Miguel Mir just right behind. So this is the fastest group currently on the racetrack. Miguel Mir only 6th, though, and they'd be using the toe. Burkett's going to think he's good, which very good lap time for him. He is. He's going to dive into the pits here. We'll see what Miguel Mir can do. He was very aggressive over the curbs. Daniel Howie going to cross the line first. Checkered flag in the air. Again, no improvement out of Burkett because he didn't go out. Pierce Baldus, we're waiting for his time to come in. We'll see what it looks like across the line. Brent Harper to 3rd. Dex Nakin to 4th. Howie only 5th. Mir didn't improve. LeBaron only 7th on his return here this weekend. Randy Rogers, Uchinsky to Janae Din, your top 10 here this weekend. Those are your unofficial results in qualifying. Greg Welch was entered, but I believe only going to be joining us at DKC. Rob Blake, no time, as I believe not here in this one. That's it, though, for the KA Masters qualifying session. As we get ready for a little bit more 206 Junior coming up next. 206 Junior presented by TB Kart USA hits the racetrack now. And as well, for those of you here in the paddock, something cool, again, that's come out of this weekend. Again, we talked about Adrian Vargas. We've had him on our live broadcast before. And his way to give back for all the help that they gave him in his time where, again, he had a gnarly wreck at the start of the year. He's back in the seat here this weekend. But he's having a raffle this weekend for the Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital, and it's presented by Adrian Vargas. The goal is to get to $3,000. And, again, the first place wins an entry to one TSRS race event for next year and a set of tires. Second place gets a set of pictures on a weekend for Studio 52. And third place gets a rolling tool card. And then again, 100% of these proceeds go directly to the Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital. You can find them under the GR2 Motorsports tent, which is actually right outside of Grid. On the left-hand side, for those of you here in the paddock here this weekend, and you can buy your raffle ticket today. I believe the raffle tickets are $10 a piece. They're going to raffle them off, I believe, tomorrow before podiums is the goal that I heard. So again, check that out. Find them as well. They're going to be walking around with a flyer as well, and again, 100% of the proceeds go to the Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital. Real cool out of Adrian as well, giving back a little bit for what he said, right? All the love that he received in his time. Being out of the seat. So cool to see that as well, and cool to see our 206 juniors as well starting their session already, led by hometown kid Derek Wargo, Josie Chambers, Rodrigo Poloya out there as well. And again, a good number, Ruben Greer in the, Brandon Green, my apologies, in the 330 out there as well. That's your top 5 as it stands. And again, wait for those lap times to start to populate here, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to wait for these drivers to get some representative lap times in to see the early pecking order for these TB Kart USA 206 juniors. Of course, Derek Wargo, Chambers are going to be two drivers that are going to be most likely a chance to get pole between those two drivers that we've seen a ton of at the front of this field. But how about Nico Orbezo, 2 on a Tony Kart running in 206 this weekend, a driver we're used to seeing in KA competition, a little bit X32. Yeah, weekend. Doing double duty. So especially a track like this, very physically demanding. So it's going to be a little difficult for Orbezo, but obviously with all the national racing experience that he's done, should be able to fare well, and hopefully we can see maybe a new race winner in 206 Junior with Orbezo.
I must say, I don't think I've ever seen him in a 206, right? And you can be good on the KA side of things, X30 even, but a 206 is a different, I don't want to say discipline because it's still racing, but it's a different aspect to go out there and win races, right? I would say it is similar to KA Junior, draft racing. Racecraft goes a lot into it as well. But again, something different, right? Speaking of Blake Nash, actually early on in the year, he said, I've never done anything like it. It's a ton of fun for sure to go out there and race a 4-cycle kart. So Orbezo looks like he's taken to it like a fish to water, right? Top of the timing charts there, 112.402. He's about close to half a second quicker than Guerrier. Poloya in third. As we go back to Sawyer, Chambers, Derek Wargo, that's your top 5.
And it's not a small gap either, like you were saying, for Orbezo, not just like barely getting it. Half a second in a 206 is kind of hard to make up. Yeah. And the rest of these guys, obviously they don't know what that time is, but if that stands, they're going to go back to their pits and wonder what went wrong and how do you find that time that Orbezo is able to roll out right now.
I mean, he has a little bit of a draft, if you will, out of Poloya, who's right in front of him. But again, it's almost by him. There's no push for him, right, outside of the draft that you're going to see kind of come into effect here on this backstretch. And again, it's going to get a lot closer. And you hear them right on that rev limiter, all the way onto that front stretch. And you keep it pinned throughout those throughout the chicane there, if you will, which is pretty much straight with how flat those curbs are. They do have a curb, obviously, but again, there's a little bit of runoff that you just go right over. We saw that yesterday in that back section, and it's just like that throughout that chicane, the last chicane, if you will, on the racetrack as they're working their way through. And this is where it gets tricky, right? With time, I believe, just about out, they find themselves just a little bit too close to each other where they have to start racing. And checkered flag is out for some. I'm not sure if these drivers got it or not. we'll keep an eye on it. They didn't, so it's still up for grabs here on who's going to take the pole in 206 Junior, Nate.
Yeah, and obviously a little bit of reshuffling there in the middle of that, so not sure if these guys are going to be able to set down on time. They'll be able to put themselves on top of the timesheets. Of course, Orbezo still over 4/10 clear of the rest of the field, so Derek Wargo, who currently leads, he's fourth on the timesheets right now, but a second off for that comp card is a tall order for them to try and figure out where the pace went off. And looks like Orbezo is going to be pulling in early. He knows the lap time that he set. Let's see if any of these three can try and topple the 308 Tony card. At the moment, that answer is a no, Caleb, and Nico Orbezo on what is potentially a 206 Junior debut. Pole position.
That's huge for Nico. And again, 4/10 the gap that he was able to set, putting himself at the right place at the right time. And again, smooth as fast at a place like Nola, especially. Presley Peterson, Caden Lehans, I believe, 2 drivers not joining us here this weekend. But Nico Orbezo on the pole in 206 Junior, presented by TB Kart USA. Coming up next, we are going to have our KA seniors. Again, they are split into 2. This will be it for our free coverage here this morning. If you want to watch later on today, you want to watch the racing action on the other side of the lunch break, Heat 1 goes green at 12 p.m. local time. And again, those will be behind our paywall. Only $9.99 a month. You can become a Kart Chaser Premium member. You can watch all the racing action live from coast to coast. We're actually all the way to North America as well this weekend, all over. Our very own Trevor Blues over in Canada for Kart Stars. You can listen in to Justin Prince up there. He's taking all the coverage for you guys alongside Sheldon Atkins. They're going to be up there in Canada for what I believe is one of the final rounds of Kart Stars. Or you can stay here with us in the South at the Texas Sprint Racing Series, whatever you like. But there should be nonstop coverage all day long on our platform here as well. And I believe they are free this weekend up in Kart Stars from what I saw, Nate, on our story. So don't take my word on it. But again, we are going to be behind the paywall later on today, $9.99 a month, and you can watch the biggest regional in the U.S. in the country go racing later on today at 12 p.m. local time. But we get ready to get going. KA Senior led by championship points leader Aiden Rudolph. And as well, a return of the seat here this weekend, Fabio Warsalon is actually on our timing charts here. And he was second quickest behind one of his own drivers, Jose Carlos Hernandez, earlier today, who's actually Jose racing for Red Speed Racing Texas. But Fabio out there on the racetrack. He's going to be on the track later. I should correct myself. So that being said, first couple of drivers out there. It looks like the 910 of Fabio Orson is out there. Jose Carlos going to be out there later. Landon Skiro, the most recent winner, must be said. Again, long time coming for Landon. He's putting himself up here. John Burke in this group as well. So the list goes on and on of drivers here. As we wait, time officially underway. And we follow along with our KE Senior. And again, this is going to be very, very competitive. I was looking at the times yesterday, this morning as well. There's a lot of drivers that are within the same couple of tenths, if you will, right? Finding that same bit of lap time. John Burke, he's had a stellar year in 2025, right, with TB Kart USA, TB Kart South. They were able to win at home track, and again, after post-race penalties, it didn't go his way, but he's still knocking on the door of that race win. Good results for that team all in all, and John at the helm of it, right?
Yeah, of course, the TV guys getting stronger and stronger every weekend, and of course being able to have such a stronghold here at TSRS and able to grow that program here and then further grow that program at a national level. So good for Kyle Ujinsky and their crew to continue to build the TV brand in general, as it had a bit of a hiatus in the United States for quite some time. You see Burke looking back for presumably one of his teammates, or to try and get a bit of a draft. Not sure what what's going on there, but we'll have to see if it works out for him. First couple of times will be rolling in shortly. Skinner goes to the top as he was one of the first drivers across the line. Rudolph, Fabio Orsolon gets his way in there too. Peyton Phillips, a driver that is desperately looking for another race win. And how about Blake Nash joining us this weekend? Another driver under the Arcane Motorsports tents, an Arcane 1-2 for the time being. Of course, early days in this qualifying session, and we still have another group to go after this.
Well, there you have, I think, an answer to your question, right, of who John Burke was looking for on that backstretch. And I think the answer to that was Peyton Phillips. And he's found him. So we'll see what Burke can do now, following along with the Arcane Motorsports driver. And again, you have that, right? Phillips was able to put half a second on the field on his lap. He's over Blake Nash, over Landon Skinner, Rudolph, Fabio Orsolon. That's your top 5 as it stands. Justin Music, Adi Bamrou, Taylor Roddy, Palermo to Ambar, your top 10 as they work their way onto the backstretch. The difference, though, Blake Nash, no draft, right? For him, he's kind of doing it on his own. As now it's going to change a little bit. Fabio able to get himself up to second. We'll look at the change this time across the stripe. Roddy able to get himself to 6th. Ambar, Music, Bamrou, Burke only 10th. Morgan LeBaron, mind you, he is also doing double duty here this weekend. Puts himself up to 6th. Michael Haymans to 7th. So there is a little bit of changes. The top 5 staying the same. And you got to think, there is a whole nother group of drivers getting ready to go out. Reigning champ Jesus Vasquez, he's in that second group.
Yeah, so
this is critical.
It's not done for these guys, too. Like you said, they can put down a fast time, but they're all going to be with their mechanics, with moms or dads or whoever has a phone and timing up for the next session, really. Just patiently waiting for times to roll in there as final couple moments of the session. Like you see these two on screen, the Arcane Motorsports duo of Nash and Phillips still occupy that front 2 spots by quite a margin of almost half a second to Fabio Orsolon and Aiden Rudolph now. Just under 2/10. The CRG driver that didn't have the weekend he would have wanted at Crescent, Texas, will be looking for a bit of redemption after a strong start to the season. John Burke on the TV USA machine moves himself up into 6th. Still, though, 8/10 off is John Burke, the driver who obviously crossed the line first at Amarillo Kart Complex not too long ago. In the second round of the season, be hoping to get a win that sticks this time in Nola.
Yeah, he's, I mean, a lot of these drivers are going to need to find a response, right? You got to think of where exactly they're going to slot in as well with the times that they have. So it is going to be close, but we are running out of time. This is the last lap for all of these drivers. Blake Nash still has a good gap, which actually got a little bit closer as himself and his teammate found each other on the track. But we'll see what Rudolph can do behind Landon Skinner. They'll be the first 2 to cross the line. Fabio Orsolon's right behind him. He's in 5th. As we come through last couple of corners, Rudolph, Skinner, they're the first to cross. Skinner goes around. Looks like he might have made a mistake. Dropped the tire there on the exit of turn 16, which puts him 4th. Overall, Rudolph looked like he was able to get himself to 3rd. Phillips in 2nd with Nash. But yeah, Landon Skinner wasn't able to complete his last lap. And we've talked about how thick the grass is here. It's going to be difficult to get out of that. Fabio Orsolon in your top 5 to John Burke, Morgan LeBaron, Michael Haymans, Taylor Roddy, Hamza Ambar. That's the top 10 of this group. But man, you got to think of what the theoretical was there for Landon Skinner as well.
And only he and that GFC team will know, and that's going to be a missed opportunity for them. Of course, still another group to go, and that's going to make that sting even more for Landon Skinner, especially coming off that race win. That being said, though, ultimately, it's just a qualifying session. You got 3 more races to go out there and prove it throughout the weekend, and with that long final coming up Sunday afternoon, it's not at all weekend over, but it's not starting off on the right foot for Landon Skinner.
Yeah, that's a way to put it there, Nate. A 64.3 for Blake Nash, a 64.6 for Peyton Phillips. 3/10 Blake Nash. Just a step over the rest of the field here. The 914 showing some good pace. But a fellow California native getting ready to hit the racetrack here in Jesus Vasquez Jr. And again, the 977, we talked about the up and down year. He's still looking for his first win on the year here in 2025 at TSRS. He was able to get a couple when we went over to Sumas, Washington for SEMA. Sorry, it's escaping me right now. For when we were up there as well. That was his first win of 2025, and again, it's been quite some time, right? Uncharacteristic of Jesus, if you will.
It's crazy to say that was his first win of the season, because when you think of K100 senior drivers, and if you had to rank like top 5, top 10 in 2025, Jesus is firmly in that conversation. So for him to get that there, yes, it's a kind of a super regional up there. He would have wanted to get maybe a couple national wins by now, but it's obviously a confidence booster, and if he can get it done today, well, there's kind of a big race going on in Vegas in a couple months' time, so that'll be a huge boost for him going into Super Nats.
And as well, that would be a free entry. If you are to win the championship at the end of the year, that would be a free entry to go out to Las Vegas, Nevada at the end of the year for the SCUSA Super Nationals. And again, Adrian Cruz out there as well, Ibrahim Din, Jose Carlos Hernandez with a new Red Speed Racing Texas suit. He's been the lead driver that came out flying at the start of the year, right? 200 points when you look at the way he started the year off over at Speed Sports, winning in the rain. So top 3 in the championship, very close, only 14 points in between the top 3. Aiden Rudolph, Jesus Vasquez Jr., Jose Carlos Hernandez, that's the top 3. Landon Skinner and Adrian Cruz are in the top 5, all within 100 points as they work their way through. But issues for one driver, that's Willander. And then 18, Afton, not going to be able to get going with us here in this qualifying session. Issues for the high 5 performance driver, finds him out of this session early.
Yeah, obviously not what you want to do, but back on screen you see the driver we were talking about as they were heading on track, Jesus Vasquez Jr., that GFC machine with the yellow and red helmet at the tail end of this train. Obviously not what Jesus is going to want to see. Get 3 karts in one corner there. Yeah, it's just qualifying, but if you can make a couple more slick moves like that in the races, then who's to say that he might not get that win on the season. He's got another one of his GFC teammates as they'll be making their way onto the back straight here in a couple of moments' time. First representative lap times will be heading on to the scoring pylon on the left side of screen in a few moments here, but of course, them still warming up tires, still getting kart into that window. Not going to see anything that puts them on pole, but of course, Vasquez quick, getting past the GFC teammate and getting some clear air.
Yeah, there you go for Jesus Vasquez, able to get through on Preston Pico. And again, I don't know how long Vasquez is going to want to be up there. Maybe for a lap, see what he can do. Maybe get a push out of Preston as well as they work their way through. And again, they haven't, obviously first couple laps, haven't made too much inroads with the top 10. But we are going to see him, again, expect things to mix up here. There's a reason why Jesus Vasquez is the reigning champion here at the series. There's a reason why he's in the championship conversation again. The same goes for Jose Carlos Hernandez. So it's all about consistency throughout the year. And again, the top 3 haven't finished every single race on the year. Rudolph has the DNF, which ultimately is going to be his drop. Vasquez as well had, a bad result in Amarillo where he himself and Jose Carlos Hernandez got in a wreck in Amarillo. That's going to be both of their drops as well, which is why we see this championship fight still led by Rudolph, the only one with a win. Well, Jose Carlos has one too, but again, it's close, right? And it's anybody's game in round number 4, and this could be a huge step as well before we get to Dallas later on in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a strong penultimate round of the season is going to be very helpful for those looking at a good result in the championship going into DKC later on in the season. Is back on track. A lot of these guys still jostling for position, trying to find who's quick where. Most of them, I don't think, are going to be able to find a lap time that's optimal or one that they'll be looking for with all the passing going on. Going to be hopefully looking forward further up on the pack. There you see him. Vasquez Jr., Sawyer Roussel, Carlos Hernandez, all those drivers who have been quick so far in this session. into the final chicane they go. Most of these guys going single file, and that's what happens when you're going to go side by side, is you're going to have to go to the wayside through there. It's more shuffling there. Pico, Hernandez, and Vasquez Jr. all trading spots as Sawyer Roussel will go up to the second spot on track at the moment. No real major shuffles on the timesheets as Nash still holds out strong. Carlos Hernandez, who put himself second last time across the timing and scoring stripe, holds on to that second spot, but it's still Blake Nash, the Arcane 914 machine, holding strong out in front.
Yeah, there you go, Roussel as well. We've seen, I mean, he really came to life in Crescent, it must be said, right, for Sawyer Roussel, and he's picking up right where he left off that weekend for GWR, and again, the 906 showing really good pace here at his home track, putting himself fourth. Phillips slotted down to fifth. Skinner as well holding on to the sixth spot. Fabio Orsolin, Dallas Dunlap, that's your top 10, so we'll see. I believe last couple laps starting to come their way. This might be the last at that. We'll look at it here as Jose Carlos going to pass on that final lap on Jesus Vasquez Jr., and they're going to go across the line. Checkered flag in the air. Can anybody go quicker than Blake Nash? The last time around, Duran gets himself to 9th, but no changes up front. The 914, Blake Nash on the pole position over Jose Carlos Hernandez, Aiden Rudolph, Sawyer Roussel, Peyton Phillips. Your top 5 in K8 100 senior. Landon Skinner, Preston Pico, Adrian Cruz, Santi Duran, and Fabio Orsolin round up your top 10. And only 12th for Jesus Vasquez Jr., John Burke only 14th. And that shows you the level of competition here this weekend, Nate. You see it there on your unofficial qualifying results. All the way back to Kurt Goodson in 29th. And again, when it's all said and done, we're getting ready to go racing later on today at 12 p.m. local time in about an hour time. Make sure to come back. We are going to be racing behind the paywall. Only $9.99 a month. You can become a Kart Chaser Premium Live and watch all the racing action live the entire month. This is all from coast to coast. We're up in Canada as well. If you want to stay busy during the lunch break from our side, we'll take a break to get fed for the hardworking TSRS staff to get fed as well. When we come back, it's time to go racing at round number 4 of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. We'll be right back.
Driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion Paulie Massimino. Car rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome, from Briggs 206 to Mini to K100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Gee, looks like we're missing the engine. What the hell am I supposed to tap?
What do you mean? It's my Greyhound. It's all I need.
Where's the rest of it?
It doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
You gotta make way. Okay, you're good.
I'm sitting by here with Kyle, our race winner. Tell me how you did it. You were blazing fast out there, and I mean, you don't even have a go-kart, man. Tell me about it.
Yeah, you know, Norberg, Schmorberg, the Greyhound-powered Greyhound was great today. You know, it makes the difference. And the team's been working really hard back at the shop, and, you know, just shout out Greyhound.
Thank you, Kyle.
How the did you just win?
Doesn't matter. It's a Greyhound.
The K1 Circuit Semi-Pro League. This is a competitive race series with 2 classes. Junior Series for those who are under the age of 18, and the Senior Series for those who are 18 or older. If you think you have what it takes, come out and prove your skills on League Night. Both schedules are live on the K1 Circuit website. Your Kart Chaser live feed will resume shortly.